Hey everyone, it's Marco Brown from Brown Law. I'm sitting in my car tonight. There are about 40 people in my parents' house. My wife and I and family are down here visiting them. Thought I'd come out here. I'm feeling a little nostalgic tonight. And I've been thinking about my childhood. I've been thinking about how attorneys advertise and what they do. And they get in suits and they take pictures of themselves and they do strongman poses and they put them on their websites. We're not very good as divorce attorneys, or any attorneys really, at being vulnerable and talking about who we are and being real with people. And I thought I'd do that just a little bit tonight while I'm feeling nostalgic. So I want to talk about my childhood a little bit. My parents took me to Alaska when I was 3 months old. I was born at Oregon State when my dad was getting a master's in fishery biology, of all things. I mean, who knew that people did stuff like this, right? But he got a master's in fishery biology. Had two other kids before that with my mom, and they go up to Alaska when I'm 3 months old. And I live on this island. They call it the island. I'm not even really sure which island it was up there in Alaska. There are lots of them. But we live up there, and my dad runs a salmon hatchery. And then he gets his own hatchery, another one, in a little place called Cold Bay, Alaska. Cold Bay, Alaska is on the Aleutian Peninsula, out near where they crab. You know, Dutch Harbor, if you've seen The Deadliest Catch, they're out there. It is quite literally the middle of nowhere. There were 85 people in my village in Cold Bay. I think like the top number when I was a kid of people that lived out there was like 110. So that's where I grew up. Like I said, my dad ran a salmon hatchery. My mom was an air traffic controller out there. Really kind of cool childhood though. All I did was hunt and fish and play with my dogs. I used to take guns to school. That's what this place was like. I would strap my gun to a four-wheeler and I would drive to school. I'm like 9 years old. And I put the gun next to my boots. We'd go to school and get out, strap the gun back on, and then go hunt, just for fun with my friends on a four-wheeler. Go play with my dogs all the time. I help my dad at the hatchery. I can't tell you how many fish, went through that hatchery at any given time, but it was just a great childhood. I really enjoyed being out there. Not many friends, obviously. I mean, there's so few kids. I think my entire school had anywhere from 12 to 22 kids, K through 12 at any given time. But it was a great education out there as well because it was really individualized. We just kind of got to do what we wanted to do. I read a lot when I was a kid. I just loved it. There were no fences where I was. I didn't know fences existed for a long period of time. I know people put up like fences around their property. That seems like a really weird thing to me, or did seem like a really weird thing when I was a kid. I also don't understand why people here in the lower 48, and that's what we call people in the continental United States, people in the lower 48. I don't understand why they get flipped out about guns. This is probably kind of taboo to talk about because guns is such a huge thing down here. But when you walk through Walmart in Alaska or go to Pizza Hut and someone has a gun strapped to them, everybody has a gun strapped to them. So you don't think twice about it. It's just a natural thing. You don't think anyone's going to shoot up a Walmart or a Pizza Hut or anywhere else just because they have a gun. So that's one of those things that I still have to get used to down here in the lower 40s. Everyone flips out about guns. I had a dog when I was a kid. We had a couple of them. One was named Shiver. One was named Mo as well. That was when I was a little tiny kid though. So Shiver was really kind of the first dog. And then I got my own dog. Her name was Tristan. I love that name. Absolutely love it. I was going to name my first girl Tristan when we got her, but we never had a girl. So I ended up naming we have two boys. The first one was named Elliot, and the second one, I named him Theodore after Teddy Roosevelt, so we call him Teddy. That name and a couple others represented about 6 months of negotiation between me and my wife. So unfortunately, I never got to use Tristan as a name, but man, I love that dog. We used to go out goose hunting all the time. She was a great retriever. Go way out in the water to go get geese. My dad and I would sit there and talk and drink Tang, hot Tang. If you remember what Tang is, stuff's nasty, but when it's hot and it's 40 degrees in Alaska and rainy, and you're sitting out there waiting for birds to shoot. Great. It was awesome. Loved those times with my dad. We would talk for hours about anything and everything. It was such an enjoyable time. My mom, like I said, was an air traffic controller, and she used to work these swing shifts. So she'd work a month of days and a month of nights and swings, and she would rotate through. So I was never really sure where she was or which one she was on when I was a kid. And I remember once I didn't see her for I think 10 days, and I just naturally assumed that she was working graves. So I'd only see her in the afternoon anyway. I thought I just kind of missed her. So I asked Dad, "Hey, when's Mom getting up?" And Dad said, "Marco, she's been in Houston for 2 weeks now." She'd been down there for what do I want to say? Some sort of teaching thing, an air traffic controller school. But yeah, I had no idea where she was. But that was just kind of our life. Another thing, when we broke bones or we had to go to the hospital, it wasn't really something that happened very often. Or actually going to the hospital. It happened a lot that you got hurt. Didn't happen very often that you actually went to the hospital. When I was a kid, I used to break bones. So I think I broke 5 or 6. And I'd have to wait days. I remember once I broke my wrist, and I had to wait probably 4 or 5 days before I could get a flight into Anchorage to go get a cast put on my wrist. So I just kind of went to school and ran around with this broken wrist for a few days. It worked out though. I got the cast on it, and it healed up. And it was great because during that period of time when I had the cast on, I made my mom write all my homework out for me because I'm left-handed and I broke my left wrist. So she had to write everything out for me. It was 6 weeks of somebody doing my homework for me. When I got the cast taken off, I remember I said, "Hey Mom, you gonna write down my homework?" And she said, "No, because your wrist works now." And I was so disappointed because I thought that was going to be a permanent thing, but it wasn't. What were the other things? We drove 4-wheelers out there all the time. We had trucks. My dad always had trucks at the hatchery that we could use, but we drove 4-wheelers and 3-wheelers everywhere, and we did crazy stuff on them because we were kids. So we'd get injured or we'd roll them. I had friends that were really hurt by those things, but you just do crazy stuff when you're a kid. But they gave humongous amounts of freedom. We'd go out and just roll around, find things in the middle of nowhere on the tundra, be able to explore. And if you ran across a bear of some sort or a fox or a wolf, you always had your gun on you. But with a bear, a big grizzly bear that weighs 1,000 pounds, that's not really going to do very much. So you just figure out how to get away from them effectively. Yeah, I'm super nostalgic tonight about all these things because I'm down here with my parents. But it was a great childhood. I miss it a lot. I like being where I am now. I like being around a lot more people. But that childhood really taught me a ton of stuff and taught me to be independent, taught me to think for myself, taught me to read, taught me to argue. There's so much freedom up there to argue with adults. You didn't have to be, and you weren't really expected to be a good kid, like a subservient kid up there, because you just had to figure out how to get stuff done. And when you do that, you don't have to be subservient to an adult because you're supposed to use your own brain. It really helped me as a kid to challenge adults, to think through things, and to not just take what they said. And that's helped me as a lawyer. I think all of this stuff really helped me to become an effective lawyer now that I look back on it. But it was just a fantastic childhood out there in Colt Bay. And this video, quite honestly, has nothing to do with lawyering or divorce or any of the other stuff. I just wanted to, talk about my childhood. It's something I don't normally do. It's something that almost nobody really does, especially attorneys. We all want to kind of make out that we're kind of super people, and we're not. We had these experiences when we were kids, and I think people deserve to see that sometimes. So that's a little bit what I'm doing. I don't know if this has made any difference to anybody, but it's been a lot of fun to talk about. So thank you for taking the time to watch this. See ya. Bye.